Welcome to True Crime Threads. Today we dive into a tragic tale of love, betrayal, and murder. Liz Cooper and Jason Davis had everything people dreamed of. To the outside world, they were the epitome of success. Liz, a talented and driven real estate agent, had built a career that earned her respect and admiration. She was known for her charm and unwavering dedication to her clients. Jason, on the other hand, was a well-respected doctor at the local hospital, admired for his skill and calm demeanor. Together, they had created a life many envied: an elegant home in an upscale neighborhood, 2 cars in the driveway, and a circle of friends who often praised them for being the perfect couple. Their lives seemed flawless, but behind the glossy surface, their marriage was beginning to show signs of wear. Jason's demanding career kept him away from home more often than Liz liked. Long shifts at the hospital, combined with the pressures of his job, meant their time together was limited. Liz, once the vibrant center of their relationship, started to feel increasingly isolated. She found herself alone more often than not, filling the emptiness with errands, work, and social obligations that didn't truly bring her happiness. The couple had once shared a deep connection, but lately Liz found herself yearning for something more: a spark, an excitement that had vanished from their marriage. At social events, people still commented on how great they looked together, but Liz couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Jason, wrapped up in his career, seemed oblivious to her growing dissatisfaction. His focus was on his patients, and his long hours left little room for anything else. Liz had tried to talk to him about how she was feeling, but he would always brush it off with a tired smile, promising things would get better. He said he was doing it all for their future, for their security. But Liz couldn't shake the feeling that the future he was building was one in which she didn't fit. Her loneliness began to fester. She found herself longing for something more than the predictable life she had built with Jason. Her world, once filled with the excitement of their early years together, now felt suffocating. Yet Liz didn't know how to change things. She was stuck in a life that appeared perfect on the outside, but inside she felt trapped and unfulfilled. One evening, at a charity gala, Liz's life took a sharp turn. It was the type of event where everyone dressed in their finest attire, mingling in elegant surroundings, exchanging pleasantries while holding crystal glasses of champagne. Jason, as always, was busy networking with colleagues and other professionals, his charming smile and easy conversation making him the center of attention. Liz, left to fend for herself, wandered through the crowd, her mind racing with a sense of dissatisfaction that had become all too familiar. It was there that she met David Blackwood. He was different from everyone else. Tall, with a confident yet mysterious aura, David's eyes seemed to hold secrets that intrigued Liz from the moment they made eye contact. They exchanged small talk, at first his easy charm and quick wit drawing her in. He was new to town, recently relocated for a business venture, and Liz, ever the social butterfly, offered to introduce him to a few people. Their brief interaction felt effortless, but there was something magnetic about him that Liz couldn't ignore. His presence stirred something inside her that she hadn't felt in a long time: excitement. As the night wore on, Liz found herself seeking out David's company more and more. They had a deep conversation about dreams, regrets, and life choices, things Liz had never shared so openly with anyone. David listened intently, his eyes never leaving hers, making her feel understood in a way she hadn't experienced in years. For the first time in what felt like forever, Liz felt truly seen. She realized that she had been craving a connection like this, a connection that had been missing from her marriage. Over the next few weeks, their encounters became more frequent. At first, it was harmless, just casual messages and brief meetings for coffee or drinks after work. But with each passing day, Liz felt herself drawn deeper into David's world. He made her feel alive again, wanted and special. The mundane reality of her daily life with Jason began to pale in comparison to the thrilling moments spent with David. Liz told herself that it was just a harmless flirtation, that nothing would come of it. But as the chemistry between them grew undeniable, so did the guilt she tried to suppress. Soon, what started as a harmless distraction evolved into something much more dangerous. Their meetings became more intimate, the lines between right and wrong blurring as Liz found herself falling deeper into the affair. David was not just the exciting escape she had hoped for, he was becoming everything she thought she wanted. Liz was caught in a whirlwind, her emotions tangled between the love and security she had built with Jason and the passion and intensity she now felt with David. She knew it was risky, but for the first time in years, Liz felt alive. She couldn't stop. As Liz and David's affair continued, what began as an exciting escape quickly spiraled into something much darker. At first, the secrecy felt thrilling. Sneaking around, hiding their stolen moments from Jason, and meeting in hidden spots around town gave the relationship an undeniable allure. But as the weeks passed, the initial excitement began to fade, replaced by an unsettling tension. David, once charming and attentive, started showing a more possessive side that Liz hadn't expected. David's behavior became increasingly controlling. He would call or text her at all hours of the day and night, demanding to know where she was and who she was with. His jealousy grew as Liz tried to pull away, and he began to show up unexpectedly at places she had mentioned she would be, turning up at restaurants or even at the gym, his eyes following her wherever she went. His presence was no longer exciting, it was suffocating. Liz tried to distance herself, but David wouldn't let her go. When she attempted to end the affair, David reacted with intense anger. He would send her long, manipulative messages, each one more desperate than the last. Sometimes he would leave long voicemails, his voice pleading with her to return to him, promising he could change. At other times, his messages became threatening, warning her that if she ended things, he would reveal everything to Jason. Liz felt trapped. David's obsession had escalated to a point where she was no longer sure of what he might do. Every time she thought about breaking free, she would imagine him showing up at Jason's workplace, or worse, sending incriminating messages or photos to ruin her life. The fear of what might happen if the affair came to light weighed heavily on Liz. She knew she couldn't continue down this path without consequences, but she didn't know how to escape. Each encounter with David felt like a game of Russian roulette. One wrong move and everything could come crashing down. The secrecy, once thrilling, now felt like a burden. She wasn't just betraying Jason, she was betraying herself. But as much as Liz tried to distance herself, David wouldn't relent. He continued to push, each time more desperate and more forceful, until Liz was backed into a corner. The guilt and fear consumed her, but she could see no way out. The affair that had once given her a sense of freedom had now become a cage, and David held the keys. One evening, Liz received a chilling message that confirmed her worst fears. The text from an unknown number simply read, "I know what you've been doing. You can't hide anymore." Her heart raced as she stared at the screen, each word digging into her chest like a sharp knife. The message was followed by a series of photos, grainy pictures of her and David together, taken during one of their secret meetings. Liz's stomach churned. She knew she had to face David. There was no other option now. The web of lies was unraveling, and she couldn't stop it. If these pictures were sent to Jason, her entire life would come crashing down. Terrified, she responded, trying to reason with whoever was behind the messages, but there was no reply. Moments later, another message came through, this one more demanding, "Meet me tonight, or I will send everything to him." Liz felt a wave of panic flood her system. Her thoughts raced. Who had taken these photos? Was it David trying to manipulate her even more? Or was it someone else, someone watching them? She couldn't be sure, but what was clear was that David's threats had escalated to a new, dangerous level. Fearing the worst, Liz made the decision to meet David, hoping to put an end to everything. She didn't want to, but the fear of losing everything outweighed any hope of resolution. She arranged to meet him at an abandoned parking lot on the outskirts of town, a place she'd never been before, but one David had suggested in his messages. Liz arrived at the spot, her heart pounding in her chest. The night air was thick with tension as she pulled into the dimly lit lot, the headlights of her car cutting through the darkness. David was already waiting, standing in the shadows, his silhouette barely visible. She stepped out of the car cautiously, unsure of what would happen next. David approached her, his presence more menacing than before. His face was cold, his eyes dark with a mix of anger and something more unsettling, possessiveness. As they exchanged a few strained words, Liz could feel the gravity of the situation weighing on her. She wanted to plead with him, to ask him to let her go, but something in his posture told her that any attempt to back out would make things worse. Suddenly, Liz heard a noise from behind, footsteps approaching fast. She froze, realizing too late that she was no longer alone. What she hadn't known was that Jason had followed her, desperate to uncover the truth. The scene quickly spiraled out of control as the confrontation between the three of them grew more intense. Anger flared between David and Jason, the tension rising until everything seemed poised to explode. Liz was caught in the middle, paralyzed by the chaos she had created. In a split second, a violent struggle erupted, one that neither of them could have predicted. The confrontation escalated in ways that Liz couldn't have imagined, and in the blink of an eye, everything turned deadly. The police arrived shortly after the incident, but by the time they found Jason standing over David's lifeless body, the damage had already been done. Liz stood frozen a few feet away, her mind spinning with disbelief. The confrontation had escalated so quickly, neither she nor Jason had anticipated how it would end. David, the man who had once made her feel alive, was now gone. Jason was covered in blood, his expression a mix of shock, anger, and confusion. Liz couldn't bring herself to move closer to him, nor could she look at David's body lying motionless on the cold pavement. Everything she had tried to bury had come to light in the most violent and tragic way possible. The police questioned them both separately. Jason's version of events was clear. He had followed Liz, worried about her strange behavior, and had witnessed David making threatening gestures toward her. When the argument broke out, he had intervened, but things had quickly turned violent. David, in a fit of rage, had attacked Jason, forcing him to defend himself. But Liz knew the truth was more complicated than Jason let on. She couldn't bring herself to explain how things had gotten to this point, how her affair with David had pushed all of them to the brink. Instead, she stood by Jason's side, telling herself that this was the only way to protect what was left of her shattered life. The trial that followed was a public spectacle. The town, once enamored by Liz and Jason's perfect image, now whispered behind their backs, unsure of what had happened and who to believe. Liz felt the weight of her actions bearing down on her as the affair became the focal point of the case. The press descended on her like vultures, demanding answers to questions she wasn't ready to face. Jason was charged with manslaughter, and the evidence of his emotional distress painted a picture of a man who had been pushed to the edge. But that didn't erase the fact that a life had been taken, and that life had been tied to Liz in ways she could no longer deny. In the end, Jason was sentenced to a reduced sentence, his actions deemed a result of temporary insanity fueled by the emotional toll of his wife's betrayal. Liz, though not facing legal repercussions, found herself serving a different kind of sentence. The truth of her affair and the violent end it had met left her with no escape. Her marriage was fractured beyond repair, and her reputation in tatters. She lost her career, her friends, and any semblance of the life she once had. The town, once eager to champion her, now viewed her as nothing more than a tragic figure caught in a web of lies and betrayal. Liz had lost everything: her husband, her lover, and her peace of mind. She had become a prisoner of her own choices. And though the court had given Jason a second chance, there would be no such reprieve for Liz. She was left to grapple with the haunting reality of what her actions had caused, knowing that she could never undo the damage. The love, the lies, and the murder that had unfolded in the shadows of her perfect life would be a burden she would carry for the rest of her days.